Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, there seems to be a great interest in Boyd's battery. This is a healing tool from the turn of the century, came out about 1890, 1895. And he had many imitators. There was Richardson's batteries, and several other ones, which basically are galvanic batteries. The original way that electrical energy was discovered by the great Caucasian Galvani, the Italian, as all electricity was discovered by the Italians. Of course, where the birth of Caucasian societies which has been misinterpreted and moved to Middle Europe and to an alien culture who has defiled science. Now, after him, or similar times to him, a of Galvani, another Italian called Volta. Do you get where galvanic and where voltage comes from? Discovered yet again this electrical flow. And it was discovered very easily. And actually, some of this technology goes back even thousands of years ago to the areas often called the Baghdad battery, where they found primitive galvanic batteries, where you combined acidic and copper together with to create this very tiny voltage. So the ancients were well aware of electricity, but found it to be very primitive in its nature and had limited uses, which is the reason why you don't find a bunch of electrical appliances in and around any kind of ancient structures, or were any of this used. Because you got to remember that electromagnetic fields are very primitive. It's not a high form of energy, and it's not the original energy. Electromagnetism comes from scalar waves, otherwise known as photons and scions, that mix together and create another energy. But that's covered in other lectures and will be gone into even in greater detail soon. But here's a Boyd's battery. And you can see that they are a combination of metals. Now, when you put different metals together, you start creating this energy flow. And metals are very fascinating because like copper, silver, and gold have amazing antiviral, antibacterial properties. And, silver in particular, which is still used today, colloidal silver, which actually are tiny, tiny particles of silver that you ingest. And that has not found that these silver can be defeated by any virus. Now, this became discontinued as copper and gold as well to a certain degree because of the use of expensive pharmaceuticals. But for years they used these, and people use it today. I take these as well, and never really had a problem with. I was able to pretty much eliminate any virus problems that you run into. But of course, we live in very complicated times, but people have been using silver colloidals in mass now, probably for about 30 or 40 years, making your own. It's very easy to do. You can buy these inexpensively, already made. I take drops of them. A lot of people use them topically to kill any kind of viruses. And of course, what's interesting is that if you place things, particularly were used in hospitals, they made panels, doorknobs, etc., out of copper. And if any kind of viruses and bacteria tend to go on that copper, the copper actively destroys them, as does silver. And of course, we know that these are, at least in the primitive thinking, that these are not active molecules. Metal is not an active energy per se. But obviously it's doing something. So we're getting a reaction there. And again, that's the primitive idiot thinking that we get from the fools of science who have produced what? Well, that's a good question. What have they produced? Absolutely nothing. And as long as we give them credit and don't criticize them, we'll be in the same mire of poo we are now. So we've got to reject all of these things and move on to what is right and correct and works. So when we understand all that, we start moving on. So this is a combination of copper. Now, what is used commonly today because of the low cost of it is copper and zinc. Now, this is zinc. I don't know if we can get to it. And of course, these are copper. There's a combination called German silver, which has a little silver in it. And there's some brass in there, I believe, as well. So, but in general, you can get a galvanic response by just using zinc and copper and putting them together. And usually it requires a liquid. And of course, these were designed to be worn against the flesh, and your body sweat would activate these and create you could call these kind of a homeopathic battery. They're putting out very tiny, minute amounts of electricity. And this all goes back to the actual building up the energy within the cell. This goes back to multi-wave oscillators, which came around in by Lavoisier first started it, but the actual energy flowing through your cells and so forth has been noted by many different people of having a amazing healing effect on the body. This is coming out now with some new system that is being pushed all over the world, where you go and sit in a room and it brings up your actual energy within the cells to a high level. And if the energy within the cells, this pseudo-electromagnetic energy within the cells, is not high enough, well, then you start to get sick and ill and eventually die. If your energy is high enough, you can pretty much stay at a high state of well-being for long periods of time. That is the theory behind it. And of course, people have been using this understanding for many years. There was some doctor who did this years ago who has now passed and had amazing healing. I don't remember his name or if there is even a book on it. But this is nothing new. As I said, this conclusion of having an energy within your actual cell at a certain level of conductivity and strength that then supports well-being. And as I said, this is something that there's a lot of interest in. These are old and they're expensive. These are over 100 years old, and these are expensive. We are trying to manufacture these less expensively and more simplistically, because you don't need all this complicated apparatus here. Ironically, these sold, I think, for 50 cents, 120 years ago. But these could be manufactured. And you don't have to have these round aspects to it. All you need to do is have several plates connected, a copper zinc together, and this would create an amazing galvanic response. And this was further documented, very interestingly, in this extremely rare book here. Now, this is the Boyd Company, who came under criticism, decided to publish an entire book on all of the testimonials that they got back. And here's the very original rare book. I just recently paid $500 for this book. We're offering copies of it on our website. Follow the link down below, and you'll be able to get a download copy of this for a very low price. We would like to get our money back on these things so we can put it back in research. But this is a pretty extensive book. How many pages does it have in it? It has 342 pages in it, and almost all of it are stories of people, or testimonials, I should say, of actual healings or the restoring of well-being that the Boyd battery did. And they had endless. It's just amazing when you start reading through this book of the restoring to health, or the reharmonizing, as I like to call it, which I think is a great term that a recent machine that I obtained put it in that way, harmonizing the fields of the body again, which I think is a wonderful way of putting it. So you reharmonize the body, you balance it, and everything is then corrected. But let me see when this was actually published. Electrica. And here we go. And I think to a large extent, this the electric current, the blood is the life. And that blood, of course, has to have a certain voltage in it. Here shows the Boyd battery being worn. I'm not sure if that's Boyd or not. So it says, for all diseases, wear the battery around the neck. The efficiency of electricity. You got to remember, this is when electricity was very new and mysterious to a large degree. Nearly all diseases effectively cured by Boyd's miniature galvanic battery. An astonishing discovery. Blood is life. So it's quite interesting when you look at this. Let's see, this was 1879. So we're talking about almost 150 years ago by this. Now, and it gives you the little story. Professor Boyd is now offering to the public batteries which are made on his newly discovered principle of metals amalgamations in accordance with well-known scientific principles and proper proportions, which by their galvanic action upon each other produce results not less startling than salsatory. The galvanic action, is produced by the metals of as the energies combine together, as I've explained. So I'm not going to read this here. It's detailed. It's ultimately something that, as I said, if you're interested in the story of all this, you can pick this up, which is a very expensive, very rare and difficult book. From what I understand, there's only about 6 copies of this available in the United States at this time. But it's nice to bring back this kind of information and offer it as a reprint to the public. And this is certainly, and I've done this for many years on very rare out-of-print books. So it goes into the whole story here in the first few pages. It talks about how it handles certain conditions. This book contains testimonials from all parts of the United States and Canada. Thousands of persons cured of distressing maladies by wearing Professor Boyd's miniature galvanic battery. And I'm not sure why he has certain things listed under states here, but here's one. Mr. J.C. Boyd, I am greatly benefited by the use of your battery and think it will finally cure me of our asthma, which I have been suffering of for many years. I would cheerfully recommend the use of it to sufferers. So the whole idea is, and you can find just about every ailment you can think of. There's asthma, there's people with arthritis, with so many other heart conditions that have claimed that they have used their particular, this particular product and have been totally and completely cured. Now, these are testimonials, like everything. Who knows how anything works? And with the problems with the oppressive nature of the world we live in is that when everything is banned and becomes an outlaw product for good and bad reasons, if people are going to sell you a can of dirt and say it's going to cure cancer, then you are, of course, putting your life on the line, and it has a very negative effect. On the other hand, there has to be some sort of process put in there where things like this are legal to use, but you cannot make claims because there is no follow-up. And this is where everything, because everybody wants claims, everybody wants to be told this is going to work for them, and of course they all want it for pennies in life, which is just not the real world. But certainly something as galvanic energy that you place on your body and over particularly maybe some different acupressure points, meridians, etc., could dramatically assist the entire healing process. And there's many products out there like that today, different types of things. Here's another one. Mr. Boyd, dear sir, where is it? There I am. Of all the medicines I have used, none have done much good to me. But when I tried your battery, I must say it was wonderfully worked on me. I am at present, after wearing the battery for a few months, and another being altogether, think myself cured of many of the effects of youth. I don't know if this is just poorly written or just old English. I don't have any headaches from the time I first wore your battery. I would advise everyone who may be sick with any kind of disease to try your battery, get happy and well again, for it is a wonderful remedy. This is for sure. And I also think of being an agent for the battery when I have enough money to do it. So, and it just goes on and on. And you can see there's hundreds in here of every type of thing. And again, these are testimonials. So what is a testimonial? How variable? Like everything in life. It shows, and I believe this person was credible. Of course, this is at the turn of the century. After this, all sorts of patent medicines came in and took over, and a lot of things like this were harassed, as all alternative healing is. And this is really sad, because what we really need to do is to have what always is the golden mean of healing, and that is combining all physical and energetic modalities together to one system that really works well. So, and I haven't found that subtle energy tools like homeopathy and other things work very well. Matter of fact, they fail pretty badly. But if you combine them with the use of scalar electronics, use with herbs and other things, that you bring up the effectiveness of all of these, what we could say are more, quote, energetic fields, their ability to have a greater effects dramatically. So the whole idea is that all of this is a big part of solving the ultimate riddle that all of us face, and that is the tragedy of any kind of illness that robs the loved ones from us, robs our pets, and destroys our lives, brings us misery, and of course lessens our length of life in general. So we need to spend our time doing that, but we only have time to spend billions on killing each other. What's new? That's the world we live in. And nobody really cares to change it. But I mean, this is a fascinating book, so I highly recommend it. Check the link down below, and you will be able to follow it over there, and you'll be able to instantly download your copy of this and read all about it. Read about what Professor Boyd discovered, and how he put it together in this very particular fashion, using it. And as I said, most people look at metal as just a hard piece of metal. But metal is quite fascinating, and in its own way, amazingly mysterious. The properties of precious metals are just amazing, as properties of some metals like lead are extremely toxic and bad for you, but very dense. And I guess can be used in a proper way for building materials, for shielding and everything else in proper, careful manners. But the necessary, and a lot of people don't understand that when you take vitamins and minerals, it didn't occur to me except, I don't know, maybe it was 5 or 6 years ago. And I looked at that word and I said, well, minerals, well, that's metal. So you need metal in your diet to survive. And desperately, magnesium, another metal. Your body, there are thousands of uses for magnesium in your body. And if you don't have it, you get very sick. That's a metal. Zinc, that's a metal. So when you go through it, you need vitamins and metals is what you're made of. So this is another area that I think's been sadly neglected, which I'm also working on and building them into my scalar radionic units. Of using more of these precious metals, which can be used in minute quantities, keeping costs down, but can gain amazing results. So this is something that's greatly been overlooked, but galvanics is something pretty simple. You can just look up regular galvanics right on the internet, and you can see how galvanics works, how you generate this energy flow by using two different metals, usually, as I said, copper and zinc. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Check it out. We do have, I believe, one of these batteries still available for sale as well. So if you want to get one of these 150-year-old amazing tools, this is the original one. This is the Boyd one, and we do have one left. And if you're interested, I would grab that quickly. But we do have unlimited reprints of the Boyd battery book. Until next time.